Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment. Former Cincinnati Reds catcher and Baseball Hall of Famer Johnny Bench spent years standing, squatting, and running under the sun. Now, eventually, the prolonged dangerous sun exposure caught up to him, and at the age of 64, he was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, the most common type of non-melanoma skin cancer. Well, today, Johnny is cancer-free and a vocal champion for efforts to get real about skin cancer. He's joining us today along with leading board-certified dermatologist and skin cancer expert, Dr. Ariel Ostad. Welcome both Johnny Bench and Dr. Ariel Ostad. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Doctor, what is non-melanoma skin cancer, and who's at risk for developing this particular type of skin cancer?
Non-melanoma skin cancer is comprised of mainly two types of skin cancer, one being basal cell carcinoma and the other one non-melanoma cutaneous squamous cell carcinoma. Generally, these two common types of skin cancer occur in individuals who are fair-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, people who've had a long history of sun exposure, sunburns, people who have had a family history of skin cancer.
Now, Johnny, did you have a family history of skin cancer? You had this long, storied baseball career. 10 years ago, you were diagnosed with this non-melanoma skin cancer. How did you first find out about it?
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma, and I actually was out hoeing cotton and chopping cotton, meaning taking the weeds out of your crops of peanuts and cotton. And I guess through all of that time, from the time I was 6 years old, I was outside. I was playing baseball. I was doing it, and I developed a couple of blisters on the lower lids, and I had them lanced, and everything seemed to be fine, but they came back, and that's when my optometrist said, "You really need to see a dermatologist." Well, fortunately for me, I have a great one in Cincinnati. He tested it, and they found out, as they will do, they'll do a biopsy and check it out. They found out that it was BCC, basal cell carcinoma, and he was able to go through a surgery called Mohs surgery that removed the cancer from my eyelids, both eyelids, and it was interesting. Both eyelids, doctor, I had them on both, and yet I had the removal of them, and that was back in 2012. I haven't had any problems since.
Wonderful. I'm so glad you're okay. I'm so glad you're cancer-free.
Well, I ask you, Neil, if you don't mind, with the doctor, is it normal or is that a routine thing that you have it removed and you're pretty much cancer-free? We know we need to see the dermatologist twice a year probably would be best. But is that a reaction? Is that a normal?
Generally, majority of skin cancers, when caught early, are treatable. And when they're caught early, patients do extremely well. It's when, unfortunately, skin cancer is not diagnosed early enough where it can lead to advanced types of non-melanoma skin cancer. I'm so glad that yours was caught early, and here you are being able to speak about it.
Well, I see results such as 95% if you're caught early enough, it's pretty much treatable without any bad results.
Doctor, you mentioned advanced non-melanoma skin cancer, and you explained, how if caught early, there's less of a risk of it advancing or becoming potentially life-threatening. How common is advanced non-melanoma skin cancer? How many people actually have it that far before they come to see you or someone like yourself?
So fortunately, majority of non-melanoma skin cancers are caught early, and patients do extremely well. When skin cancer is either not caught early enough or is not treated appropriately, it can lead to advanced skin cancers. Fortunately, it's not common, but there are treatments available for that as well.
Johnny, what about Let's Get Real About Skin Cancer? Tell us about this campaign and your involvement in it.
Well, because of my desire to make everybody aware of skin cancer, it seems like so many people around me are developing skin cancers, or they're going to their dermatologist and they come back and they look like they get hit by a paint gun because they're freezing their particular spots and making sure that they're under control. And if your dermatologist designs it, the best thing you can do is to go to letsgetrealaboutcancer.com and find out more about what you can understand the results of, what you can expect, what Dr. Ostad was talking about your own self-analysis. But I want to make sure that I don't have skin cancer. I want to make sure that everybody doesn't have skin cancer. I know the other day one of my best friends developed a squamous under his fingernail. Now, where we don't look at, where do the cancer, where's it supposed to appear? It can appear anywhere.
Skin cancer can occur in any area. Majority of them occur in areas that are exposed to the sun.
Yeah, so I'm working with Regeneron and Sanofi and trying to make sure that everybody comes aware. I mean, this is our vehicle to try to get you and your listeners and all of those people out there to really do the self-inspection, to find out the self-analysis in some way. If there's any question, you go see your dermatologist. And a lot of times, I guess, when you see your GP, they can do the analysis as well. They're very aware of what skin cancers are to a certain extent. Then they will send you to your dermatologist.
So, Doctor, I'm assuming that this is relatively easy to diagnose once someone comes in with any type of symptoms if you just do the right test. Is it ever misdiagnosed as something, less serious? Is that something that happens with this type of melanoma?
I think majority of non-melanoma skin cancers are easily diagnosed and treatable with skin evaluation by a dermatologist along with a biopsy. So as long as you, as Johnny said, you're visiting your doctor can, through just examination, it's doing a full body skin examination, be able to detect and diagnose and biopsy suspicious lesions. So the key is really about going to your doctor, and that's what can actually help catch these at an early stage.
Johnny, knowing what you know now, what are your thoughts on skin protection, exposure to the sun? What advice do you have for others who are out in the sun doing what you do?
Well, first of all, from what I understand, you need to apply your sunscreen every 2 hours. Most people say, I'm going to get 100 SPF, or I'm going to get this, I'm going to get the highest power. Well, the real key to all of this is making sure you reapply your sunscreen every 2 hours. I have worn big floppy hats forever on the golf course, fishing, and everything else. So I want to get everybody alert. And some people don't realize they're out at the beach, they're fishing. Everybody says beach and swimming pool. What about those guys that are landscaping? What about the farmers that are out there? What about doing any sports? And most of the time, most sports are done without hats. Mm-hmm. And so why not be able to wear a big brim hat, wear your sunglasses, be aware, and of course, as Dr. Ostedt said, there are different skins that may be more susceptible to cancer than others.
Yeah.
The level of SPF or whatever in that sunscreen really doesn't matter as long as you're reapplying it appropriately, right?
I think it's really important, as Johnny said, it's not so much about the number of the SPF within your sunscreen, it's more about reapplication.
Right.
Anything above an SPF 30 pretty much is all about the same. It's about finding the sunscreen that feels good for you so that you like it, you put it on, and it becomes a habit of reapplying it every 2 hours.
Okay. Where can our listeners go for more information?
Let's get real about skincancer.com. Let's get real about cancer.com, because it really is important for you to understand that. And sometimes it gets spread out. You forget about the words, but let's get real. I mean, that's the one thing. Let's get real about skin cancer. And that is the site you want to go to. It is going to have all the information you could possibly want. And we hope that all of our listeners, your listeners, are paying attention to this, because they're all starting to understand they need protection.
Well said. Thanks. Johnny Bench, Dr. Ariel Ostedt, I thank you both for joining us here on Health Professional Radio. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Hall of Famer Johnny Bench and Dr. Ariel Ostedt. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download a SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.